Rᴏᴏ as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership. Every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial, Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you roommates as we discuss the situations.
Oga Police, no worry, I see you. You know you can do the right thing, right? You know you can do without that bribe. You know you don't even have to harass that young man because he is properly dressed. And you think he's a Yahoo boy? You don't even have to assault that citizen whom you have sworn an oath to protect. Yes, we understand that the pay is not good enough to take you home, that you are still wearing a uniform that you bought with your own money 5 years ago. It's no news that the government has not done enough by you. We feel your pain and we wish things could be different as we continue to call on government to wake up to their responsibilities. We want the police to be our friends, just as it is boldly stated across the various police stations nationwide. And from Mainland 98.3 FM, we implore you to do better. We love you and we support you always.
It's my pleasure to have you join us today in the Situation Room live on Mainland 98.3 FM. And I want to believe your day has been going so well. Today is the 7th day of November 2024. And I want to thank you specially for always finding time to be my, maybe my guest. In the sense that if you're not on the other side, then I have no business being on this side, irrespective of whoever I will bring into the studio to help us look at issues, topic, policies, decisions, events, activities happening around the world to help us, understand the nitty-gritties of such things. If you're not on the other side listening to us, then we have no business coming here. So it's always my pleasure to have you join us every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. 90 straight minutes of conversation around some of the things that affect you and I as citizens of the beautiful and great country, the Federal Republic of Nigeria. More importantly, would also not just break down these challenges, would also put up solutions that can help us understand the quick fixes, or maybe the short terms or the long term solutions to some of the problems that are facing us as a people. Wow, my name is ʻOkpeyemi Akenan. We always come together every Monday to Friday, and I'm always looking forward to Thursdays, especially because there's always throwback Thursdays on the station. It gives you the opportunity. By the way, the program we just listened to from 3 to 4 p.m. Was Afro Timeout every Thursday from 3 songs and sound of the likes of Orlando Julius. You listen to the likes of 𝐴ᴤᴜ, the legendary late 𝐴ᴤᴜ, people that have not just impacted the world of music, but have also left songs of the 60s that are still relevant today, of the 70s, of the 80s, of the early 90s. Because every Thursday, that's only what you get to enjoy on the station. Songs that gives you those nostalgic feelings, songs that makes you remember that, no disrespect to the quality of music we have now, but hey, if I'm out to sit down and make that choice, what would I rather want to listen to? The songs of those times or the sounds of now? Two things: the songs of those times or the sounds of policies. These are the toughest of times for the people of this great country, but we're finding our ways of getting things done. Like my friend Ponsafana would always say, hey, he feels the government is taking advantage of the strength of Nigerians to continue to endure, the strength of Nigerians to persevere even in the face of the toughest of times. I mean, some of the things that we endure in this country, some of the things that we quickly adjust and adapt to in this country are things that citizens of other countries of the world would have taken to the street to protest, to shut down capital, to force the hands of the leaders of their country. We saw it during the Arab Spring. We still saw it in Kenya very recently. But Nigerians always find a way. If it happens, it happens. We find a way to adjust and adapt and move on. Prior to the May 29, 2023, swearing of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigerians were buying petrol for 198 naira, 187 naira, depending on what part of the country you stay. And the president promised that, don't worry, prior to the election when he was campaigning, that don't worry, let them take the petrol to 200, let them take it to 500. We'll bring it down. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we should enjoy that real quick. I just enjoy that little soundbite. Let's get it on.
Add the 200, add the
Unfortunately, it was not brought down. Rather than it being brought down, Nigerians are buying a liter of petrol right now for 1,080 naira, 1,070 naira, 1,200, depending on what part of the country you stay. And that promise that was made by Mr. President was about 15 or about 18 months ago. Well, Nigerians always find a way to adapt and adjust. Very recently, one of the advisors of Mr. President, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, was on a national radio, and he said, you know what, in case yam is getting too expensive for Nigerians, let us leave yam and go start buying sweet potato. And one of the things that got to my mind was that, when the kerosene was thrown open in terms of the supply of it in the general market, the one you call the deregularization of it, it became really scarce, and Nigerians started turning to gas because they felt it was cheaper and maybe a bit safer if you want to look at it that way. But as of today, a kg of gas is being sold for 1,400, 1,500, because for every time the demand goes up, the price would. Those are the kind of things you get to hear every single time. Well, Mr. Miwadi joins me on the show today as usual for a Thursday, and I've lost count of the number of times that the national grid had collapsed, and just about 4 days ago it collapsed. And early this morning, I was going through the social media handle of the national grid, the verified social media handle of the national grid, and they said that Nigerians are currently surviving on 2,223 megawatts. And let me break this down for you. South Africa is less than 60 million people, as at the last figure of 2022, around 58 to 59 million people. And they generate almost 60,000 reserved only for the public infrastructures in the country. Hospitals, schools, train stations, airports, and all of that. And so the people of the country also enjoy the remaining, but they have over 10,000 megawatts surviving on 4,800 megawatts. Anything that shoots above that, the national grid will collapse, because we don't have infrastructures that are supposed to take in what is being generated by the gencos. So the question is this: what have the discos, what have they been doing since the privatization happened? We have messed up transformers, old and dilapidated wires, power lines scattered across the country, and Nigerians are struggling to keep body and soul together to keep their businesses going. Put all of that to one side. One of the things that I find the most undemocratic in this dispensation is the classism that was brought into power supply. And it pains me. And I will always talk about it. Now take a listen to the perspective of where you stay. So, for instance, if I stay in Magboro, that is a part of this country, under Obafemi Owode local government of Ogun State, that means I'm not entitled to enjoy steady electricity supply because I'm not on band A. So because I stay in Ikoyi, maybe I stay around Ikeja. And the question is this: should electricity be distributed on the basis of your social status? The national grid can collapse even more times because the distribution companies don't have enough facilities. CC, and that's the transmission company of Nigeria. And he said he cannot guarantee that the national grid will not collapse again after the last one that was on for like 4 days. But guess what? In 24 hours, the grid had reportedly collapsed twice. It's a lot of problem. But it doesn't seem we have any solution to that. It is from one story, one excuse to the other. Mr. Miwademi, it's another Thursday to be on the show. And I'm super excited to have you join us. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Lagos. Good evening, Oᴘᴜᴜ. I trust God you are doing good.
I mean, each time anyone asks me, how are you doing? Or hope no problem, I'm going to give you whatever answer I'm going to give you, Mr. Adeyemi, in Nigeria. So that's the answer I would give you.
Alright, that's okay. That's a good answer.
On the turn of 5 o'clock. First off, we look at the just concluded United States presidential election that have produced the 47th president. 45th, he lost his re-election bid. Then he came back again and recontested, and he's now the president-elect, Donald Trump Jr., the 47th democratically elected president of the United States of America. The election had its own issues, but I just want us to look at the takeaways for us as a nation from that election. We'll look into that. Then we'll also look at the tax reforms bill that has generated a lot of controversy. I have a soundbite here that will play from Senator Alin Dume telling the people of Nigeria, probably indirectly sending a message to the presidency, that the tax reform bill is dead on arrival at the National Assembly. We'll talk about that as well. On the 16th of November, next week Saturday, the people of Ondo State will go to the polls to choose who governs them again for the next 4 years. There is the PDP, there is the Labour Party, there is the APC, the Zenith Labour Party, the Action, the Alliance for Democracy, the New Nigerian People's Party. 18 political parties will be on the ballot for that election. We'll also look into it as well. All through last week and this week, we've had, spokesperson of APC, PDP, YPP, ADC join us on the show to talk to us about what their candidates have to offer the people of Ondo State. But you and I will look at it from a different perspective. Have the campaign really been issue-based, especially on the back of the debates that was held last week Sunday? We saw just 2 candidates out of the 18 candidates come to debate each other, the PDP and the APC. Mr. Miwademi, let's start from the United States election. The voting started about 3 weeks ago. In fact, as a Sunday night, almost 80 million Americans have voted. Well, the final voting was done on Tuesday, and here we are today. The president-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump Jr., returns to the White House. What is the significance of that election to the world, especially on the issues that dominated that campaign? Immigration, the LGBTQ, the unemployment or employment, the issue of health, taxes, but more importantly, the involvement of the United States in the war going on between Ukraine and Russia, and of course they call it an invasion from Israel into Lebanon. Mr. Miwademi, take us through that conversation, and what do you think Nigerians should take away from that election?
Okay, thank you very much. I think the first takeaway is that the election is for the Americans. So Americans voted for what they think is good for them. So not for any other country or for the world or for Africa. or for black man. So the Americans voted for policies they think is best suited for America at this moment. Number one. Number two is that, in this part of the country, we always wanted a Democratic Party to win because we believe their policies, their agenda, most suited, I think, our own idiosyncrasies or our own belief system and those things we wanted to see in government. But unfortunately, we are not Americans. So when we wanted to elect our own president, we didn't consider American interest. Right. So that's why I said Americans voted for what they think is good for America. Let's start this way. We all saw our Democratic Party and the outgoing President Biden. Some things they did, even some Americans didn't like. These activities you mentioned about, I think we asked core Americans, they didn't like it, and they voted against it. Number one. Number two, if you see the way Democratic Party handled the issue of Jerusalem, made the capital of Israel by Trump in his first term, and the way I think Biden and co were silent about Jerusalem. The Americans spoke against it about 2 weeks ago, and they declared their support for Biden, for Trump, and to many people have been following the American election. Wherever the American Jews pitched their tent since 1980s, you can take a bet that that's where the election will be because they own the Wall Street. But then what I mean by Wall Street is that they own the economy and technology of America. So they came out at the way I think Biden and the Democratic Party handled some foreign policies, they were not happy with it. So Americans voted against that. By and large, for the first time, you will see a Republican candidate speaking to the workers. The Republican Party, they are more or less an elitist party. But you saw go and study the soundbite of Donald Trump. He was most of advancing the workers and some of their social needs, even more than what we expected Harris to do. So I think to me, you can see if you do the reanalysis of the campaign, what you go to the campaign, you understand that Trump was able to address what Americans actually wanted to hear. Forget he may not do some of those things. In the first term, he came out to be talking against the immigrants and the clergy, and then he was going to do another job somewhere.
He did not run one of them.
He did do it because America has a structure, an institution that your body language does not say anything. Right? It's only in Nigeria here that if the president did not shake you or not acknowledge your greatness in the public, you are likely to lose all the contracts in the country. Simply because he will tell you they are using the body language of the Mr. President. So it's very talk of the body language. But they have the institution, the structure that works. So my name will not, go and look at the statistics. More Nigerians got visa
under Donald Trump.
In trying to meet their conditions, somebody will give it to you. But we cannot meet their conditions, so they will not. And I don't want to say somebody should go there and get a legal immigrant in another country. And again, when I come to the foreign state, we are likely, which I cannot take a bet on that maybe there could be a solution to Russian-Ukraine matter. Because we cannot expressly say that, but at least there are a lot of alleged relationship
between Putin and Trump
and Biden. So which might, I think, maybe they explore that very well. I think they should temper the temper of war we have been seeing in that country, which is quite unfortunate. And I don't see how Lebanon or Hezbollah and co will have it easy with Trump. When it comes to their battle with Israel, I'm yet to see it. But if I want to look at what does it mean for Nigeria? I'm sure Trump, the African leaders, not only Nigeria, may not find it funny with Trump. Trump is not the type that gives to frivolities. He's not the type that gives to laziness and idleness. He's a serious businessman and self-minded. And I won't be surprised if he begins to abuse all of them. Yes. If they refuse to make their country comfortable for their citizens to stay, I think even all of them will want to rush there. Whether they have toothache or headache or stomach ache, they run to Europe or America, so that from their countries, go and keep it in foreign countries. Donald Trump, they should expect Donald Trump, I think that he will give it, he will call them their real names. So African leaders may not have it easy with it. Not because of policies that will be against Africa, no. Because they will still to protect that one. But because of, I think, what the man will speaking, what he will be saying, that's what will be tweeting against them. But not against the policy of Africa or against American policy or choose against American policy against Nigerians. No, I cannot see that one. Because I think we passed through him in the first time. We knew how it worked and we are not expecting much of a difference. But as far as Americans are concerned, if you try and analyze, I think it is ability to respond to issues. You know, America gave us opportunity as Nigeria to assess candidates. You know, people ask questions. You understand? And but here in Nigeria, we go to ask for kind of a takeaway. Here in Nigeria, we have such opportunity of engaging our leaders. You understand? When any of the presidents voted, were there enough time where ordinary Nigerians can be engaged? Even where journalists will give opportunity to ask free questions. How many of them people that give themselves to public debate? Right? You understand? As we can clearly see in America. Right? In Nigeria, I'm not saying anything new. But Tinubu did not attend any of the debates. And he won the election.
Mr. Miwa, sorry to hold your thoughts. From 1999 till now, we've not had a president that have attended a national debate. From former President Olusegun Obasanjo to late Umaru Musa Yar'Adua to Goodluck Jonathan to Muhammadu Buhari to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, neither of these five people have attended any national debate and they've been president.
Sure, because you know what? Because they know that Nigeria are not, let's say, considering the manifesto, the policies, before they decided on who to vote for. Our voting has already been predicated on primordial sentiments, ethnicity, religion, my town man, has been the factor, not policy. Okay, see, when Buhari was contesting, Buhari was on the campaign floor. We see for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And then go and study all what he said. It's the same thing he said in Ibadan, the same thing he said in Lagos, the same thing he said in Aᴍᴜ, the same thing he said in Akure. That even when you are writing the story, you are not difficult to know who where is the French hand go to pick his comment? And because at times you want to pick a story from the candidate. Right? So no, not that you want to pick statement from what people said that time, right? So but why was the candidate? So what did he say? So it's what you said in Ɪ̀kìtì, not different from what you said in Aᴅᴜᴜ. So you end up repeating yourself, which most times a journalist will not like. So the same thing to President Tinubu, as I said, he did not attend all these campaigns simply because they knew that Nigerians are not voting based on the policies or blueprints or the agenda they have on the table. For instance, there was an election in one of the southwestern states. I asked the governorship candidate, sorry, can I have a blueprint? They already have one. Do my people need blueprint to know they're hungry? Do they need blueprint to know they need water? Do they need blueprint to know that they need family properly? They are not the blueprints. And in no place, and in one election, in one election, some people even did not print manifesto. They don't have a clear-cut manifesto. So those are the things, right? So those are the lessons we can take. So people look at the policies. Americans knew what they wanted. And Trump spoke to those policies, the aspiration, what they wanted. And they voted for him. Again, another takeaway, which I strongly believe we need in this country, is that in America, you can win a popular vote and not win the electoral college.
You saw it in 2016.
And the electoral college is very important. And when it does so, now, why can't we also, our political scientists, our experts, cannot develop a system that we take care of the peculiarity challenges? A governorship candidate told me at the one that it's only the professors that will ask for his manifestos. And it will take him a whole day to convince a professor or an educated person to vote for him. And the gentleman said, I need Okada to vote for me. Okada to vote for me. I need all these cash pushers to vote for me. And all what they need for me is that once I just take some with them, their whole family vote for me. Because they will see me as their friend. And then see, and in one election. But if we situate our election voting pattern in such a way to take care of our environment, we have a situation where we are alleging that among the some people that did not know their rights from left are voting on the election day. Right? We have a situation where you begin to wonder, did these people understand the essence of voting? Yes, they are voting. But do you have a system to shift start from the grade to build kind of an electoral college that have a second look at various segments and reach a consensus of producing the president? And again, another thing we can look again is that the voting pattern in each state is different. It's not that you are waiting for somebody national electoral process to county the year to go. Each state has its voting rules and patterns. And the team will declare from state to state. Did you see anybody declaring the president?
Oh.
Did you see the electoral officer saying that we have counted the vote and so you scored give opposition to manipulate figures, changing this? The guy knew that what was going on. He has won. Even before he got to 290 to cross the whatever, people have been congratulating him. Because they've seen what happened in different states. So what I'm saying is that Nigeria has a lot to learn. One, the idea of the essence of democracy is change. And let me tell you the truth. That's why since 1945, you cannot see a party winning at 12 years, both in America And
in Britain.
Yes, you can see, go and study. The maximum result, yes. Other people will come in. But here in Nigeria, you see a party governing as long as the powers that be don't seem to be there. My brother, if your wife is cooking, has the capacity to give the best of fried rice, and the yam every day, one day you ask for garri, as one day, no, I'm tired of this fried rice. I'm tired of this delicious every day. Just give me garri. That is human being. And democracy is change. So they voted Democratic Party, and when they saw the program they wanted, they wanted the Republican Party. In the last 4 years, if Trump is not doing they want, they will go back to the Democratic Party. That is democracy. And what they do to change. But here, see, it's something like life. One party has been ruling Lagos State. Are we saying that is the best you can get? Who has had the opportunity of checking their books? Who has had the opportunity of doing a thorough checking, thorough auditing? To know that things are not just done in the family way. Nobody. No party has come in. And we thought we are getting we are not getting the best of democracy. We are not getting. The best of democracy is that both Labour Party or PDP that are finding themselves in position now, that they need to do a lot. If in the next 4 years they can put the acts together and speak and behave responsibly more than what they are doing now, and have the heart and interest of this country at heart, and organize themselves, organizing everywhere, Nigeria can see have confidence in that, trust and vote to them. So those are the lessons we think they should have done large. The colored lady, or America is not ready for female president. Those are the sentiments. But the truth is that the Americans are not happy with some of the policies of the Democratic Party, and they are just to suffer for it. No more, no less.
Thank you, Mr. Oluwade. I just quickly had to put out with some members of the civil society organizations, traveling to the US to, observe the election. And it's always my question that when you go to observe elections, what exactly do you learn from this process? Because we always come around, we always come around there, and then they tell you that the IRF is just a viewing center, this and that, there are issues with this. The US election went in. I remember after the 2023 presidential election, the results, even from Lagos alone, I didn't leave the INEC office at Yaba until night of Tuesday for an election that taking place in Saturday. Even the governorship election, it was late into Sunday night. So but look at the US election. As the numbers were coming in, I was making a joke with my colleague yesterday that I have not slept since the day before the election. The numbers were coming in. You can just read it. Real time. You know what is coming from Wisconsin. You know what is coming from Washington. You know what is coming from New York. And that is a country where there are over 230 million eligible voters alone. A country that have had over 100 million votes even before the day of the election. More importantly, Mr. Remi, there's been a lot of concerns about diaspora voting. If you go and look at the level of remittance in this country in the last 10 years, millions and billions have come into this country from Nigerians living in diaspora. And people have asked questions. Why shouldn't there be an opportunity for people to exercise their franchise? Because there are a lot of Nigerians in the US that cannot vote in the US for some reasons. And also, you look at people that are on essential duties on election days, police officers, journalists like us, we can't vote on election day. Why should we not be able to vote? I mean, I was hoping that we'll have this conversation in line with some development that INEC is going to put in place. Let's get the conversation going. Thank you very much, Mr. DME, for sinking your teeth in the conversation of the US election. But let's talk about something really pressing to us. The Presidential Committee on Fiscal and Tax Reforms that was headed by Taiwo presented a bill to the Federal Executive Council, which was later approved and transmitted to the National Assembly for passage. But that was exactly where the issue started. I will play you a soundbite, Mr. DME, and to everyone listening to this show, and I want you to listen to it as well. The voice of Senator Ali Ndume speaking about the tax reform bill. We'll also come talk about it. The former senator representing Kaduna North Senatorial District, Senator Sɪᴛᴜᴏ, had come out to say that the bill is not against the North. The chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service had also come out to say that it is not a battle of North versus South. But there's been a lot of reaction. In fact, the Northern Elders Forum had supported this position of Senator Ali Ndume. But listen to Senator Ali Ndume. When we come back, Mr. Adeyemi, you get into this conversation. Why is it a big deal? Why is the issue of reforms being politicized? Stick with us. Mr. Miller, I'm coming. I actually want to play the sound bite of Senator Ali Ndume, so I'll put it on the line so that I can listen to it.
All right.
It's not an issue of paying tax. Nigerians are willing to pay tax, but they can only pay tax when they can afford it. Right now, people are not even able to afford what they can eat. People are struggling to survive. Let people live first before you start asking them for tax. And these our industries are even leaving Nigeria right now because of the unconducive environment. Yeah, it will be fair. In fact, it is the fairest thing to do. When you bring in something that people are allergic to it and people that don't like it, you just shut it down, and because we have more other business to do.
Senator Ali Ndume had suggested that the tax reform bill should be shut down by the National Assembly. He said it's a DOA that is dead on arrival for the National Assembly. But a lot of people have also said no, it is not just about tax. It is about tax and revenue. And let me read how do I put it now? The guiding document that was released. He said the committee was saddled with the responsibility to harmonize multiple taxes and levies at all levels of government. It is also responsible for the unification of revenue collection functions, as well as modernization and simplification of the tax system, including the use of technology for revenue collection. Mr. Adeyemi, isn't that clear enough?
It's clear. The problem we have here, right, is the whole gamut of this. It goes beyond, I think, the collection of bringing more people to the tax rate, which the bill essentially seeks for. And again, there are some category of people, maybe in business or whatever, that are not been paying tax. And that's why you see in Nigeria, and then somebody is in business, and they can have up to 2.5 G-Wagon, but ask him how much he's paying as a tax. It's not paying anything. But you and I, they deduct it from our salary up front, right? And they remit it. We are not complaining. You understand? I have been paying tax since I started working. But some people have not been paying tax. They're not been doing that. But if you're not saying, let's see how we organize this tax. We are not increasing tax. But where you have multiple taxation, which companies have been complaining about, let's streamline it. But where we have people that are supposed to pay tax and have been refusing to pay it, let's bring them into the tax rate. Right? Meaning that if you have only 1,000 people paying tax in this community before, we are not supposed to have up to 5,000 or 10,000 paying it. So let's see how we get more people to pay tax. And again, the area there that some northern governors, which in Dubai also echoed, were against, was when it was looking at giving preference to the area generating that VAT. You understand? Kind of derivation. You understand? But that with derivation, no one that want to, they don't say if Lagos is generating more VAT, that Lagos should have more.
Yes.
Right. More when you are sharing. But the system now, where Lagos generates almost 55% of the VAT throughout the country. Yes, Lagos generates up to 65%. But you see how a state like Kano sharing more than Lagos State, right? In VAT money, right? They want to protect that one. But the facility of Lagos State is this first. That's nobody is interested in that one, right? But if the pollution you have here in Lagos, that Lagos is fighting. The traffic, Lagos is fighting. Because somebody is carrying something from Apapa to my Maiduguri, it's not their interest. You saw a LASMA control traffic in Lagos that was burnt, almost alive. You understand? Lagos facility is being overstretched. But the little advice supposed to have, we now say it cannot have it. I'm not using Lagos as an example. River State is generating that, so also Delta. But we see the pollution to the water, to the environment, to everything in that area. But we still prefer states like Kano, Maiduguri to share of this VAT than River State. Then, in some other states, they said they don't want to bear. No problem at all. Even we have a police, Hizba. That the best, that the best that Hizba is doing is to go to hotels, destroying millions of cartons of beer, alcohol drinks, right? And they're doing that perfectly. You understand? Kudos to them. And if they now say that they do that, I said that if they don't consume beer in this area, that for beer should not be shared by that state. If consumption of beer is around, I agreed. But it's money coming from beer, it's not also around. It's not around.
It's a case of when you don't want to eat, don't sniff it, don't bring it close to your nose.
No, that's what I'm saying. So in that area of derivation, right, that has been so contentious that the northern governors just spoke against, kicked the game, right? And the women now echoing what they said. They are not, we don't know what they say, but listen, they are not the only one that made Edume is one person in National Assembly. Right. It's one person. He has every right, at least to say he will vote against it. And some people don't have the right to say they vote for it. But the president has done what I consider to be the best thing. Let the thing pass through the due process. Let go and be argued. If there is a modification, go there everything away, because there's one clause that is contentious in the whole bill. Look at this one to the front bill. He has about 4 whatever on it bills around it. You want to throw that away? You want to throw away that some people want to be paying taxes they are not paying? So let's see how we bring them to the table with. Go to National Assembly, go and roll it out. People will throw that away. Go and throw it away there. There's no problem about that. But the woman cannot be speaking as if is controlling this country, right? No, it's not. And with all this we are saying, some of these states, because they are getting free money, they never worked for. They are getting free allocation from other state and they want it to continue. So imagine somebody never pay tax. Go and see the IGR. Remove payee from the IGR of some of these states and what remains. Go and see. So if they want to continue, and you know when they want to create most of these states, they will tell you they are valuable. They have natural resources. They already have that. After creating them, they cannot generate. There is a state in this country that could not generate the budget for the government house. The IGR
cannot serve the government house.
Cannot serve the government house. And they have the resources. So they are not tapping into it. A state in North can feed the whole of the nation. Many states, if they come together in the northwest or northeast, can feed the whole of Africa. But what are they spending their money on? Because they are getting free money. So if you do that, blame the regime of some people making money, some people spending more than those who are making money. Yes, in the one that regime will continue. That let all the Nigerian Delta begin to produce all the money, right, and give them the factory, and they let the money now go to the north, where they see the beauty of that money. If the one that regime will continue, if the one that regime where Lagos State has 20 local government, with over 25 million population, and the Kano having local government, the government created of Kano having 32.
Jigawa has 32 local government.
Yes. So if the regime want to continue, yes, there's no problem. He can come back to that. But those who feel the case also have the right to say no, let's reduce the body. You understand? So he has the right that whatever that the status quo must remain, nothing should change. Because we are benefiting from it without government contribution. Let them put that what they are putting on the top of this federation. The 119 government states. Let them what they are putting on the top of the federation. So if they wanted that to continue, yes, no problem. But in the house, they wanted it out. If they succeeded, good luck to them. But Tinubu will remain, as if they will disappoint his heritage, will disappoint everything is social. If we could not get this impact true,
Mr. Noah, one of the arguments that a lot of people have put forward, especially those agitating against the tax reforms bill, is being that it does not reflect true federalism. You've also alluded to the fact that there are, over 40 something resources, natural resources that we have in Nigeria, and over 20 of them are situated in the north. The 19 northern governor states have kicked against the reform, the bill, and some of their spokespersons are talking tough. Do you also subscribe to that school of thought that this is anti-true federalism, upon which the democracy of this country was founded, that you also alluded to a couple of weeks back on this show?
Certainly. If we are talking of federalism, he said he gets back and stole his money. Do you know what I'm saying? Until Tinubu himself begin to, take serious steps on certain things he preached before he became president. Normally, the minority where the government comes from, they raise their bags and spend their money. What are business? If they like, they should not pay, they should not pay back. You understand? If Lagos is donating his money and spending his money, you understand? If they like, they can tell the people to go back. But if the pollution, the congestion, the population of Lagos being overstretched, and you want the system that will continue to make Kano sharing more than Lagos to continue, they have to say no to that. If the provision never continues the way it's continued, that's hearing all those things. And there is the money I was want to share more than them. That's on this donation table. Let by the time they want to share money, let them put how much was they got from each stone. So they don't know the money we are sharing. So when you are not continuing on the table, and you want to eat, you are eating more. They are not suffering what they are getting. So they have the right to say that this democracy. But the people of socialism, and if let them like that level, let you say just control that and send it. Chicken up.
Mr. Muradi, it's not as easy as you just said chicken because day before yesterday, day before yesterday, I was going through one of the things that the statement put out by the spokesperson of the House, and is saying that the National Assembly will consult professionals to come help them look into it. And I just keep asking. I took my time to go through the entire report of the reforms, and even from a layman point of view, it is basically about the governors now need to sit back and be more creative, look for ways of making sure that whatever it is they generate from their state is good enough that can be taken to the national purse, and they can get something good. It's as simple as it sounds. Well, sometimes we get to politicize everything that we have on the table here. Mr. Muradi, we'll be due for our first break by 5 o'clock. But I will still want us to sink our teeth real quickly into the upcoming gubernatorial election in Ondo State. By next week, Saturday, the 16th of November, the people of Ondo State will have to go to the polls to choose who governs them for the next 4 years. Yes. There is the PDP, the former deputy governor of the state, 𝐴gbọ́lá. There is the sitting governor, the former deputy governor also of the state. In fact, it was the one that succeeded 𝐴gbọ́lá as deputy governor. Now is the governor after the death of the former governor Rotimi. That is Lucky Aiyedatiwa. And there are also 16 other candidates across the 18 political parties ahead of the election. I'm sure you followed it. What can you say about that election, especially on the back of the debate that was held on Sunday? Unfortunately, the debate was just between two of the candidates, the APC and the PDP. People are informed.
You know what, as I said, if you look at that, we will judge from that debate, another thing. One thing is obvious. 𝐴gbọ́lá is more experienced than Aiyedatiwa, governor. Number one. Number two, 𝐴gbọ́lá seems to understand the problem of the state, Aiyedatiwa. Number three, they are talking of security challenges. It's like Aiyedatiwa did not even understand what happened last week or last month in the state. And the man alleged that we were taking 1.2 billion as security votes. You said we were not taking 1.2 billion. You will not say how much. That's right. So, is it a public fraud? Are they not disclosing the security budget that passed? Right. Why can't you disclose how much you are taking as security votes? I need to know if you are spending it judiciously or not. And the man alleging that on the day of a good election, that was you got double of it as security votes. You could not defend yourself on this. And for God's sake, this is public money. You went ahead 4 weeks to the 3 weeks election to appoint 314 special assistants. But unfortunately, PDP in that sense does not restructure the whole election. It's unfortunate.
Mr. Mira, let me hold your thoughts. Let me hold your thoughts. Yeah. I'm really interested in this. We would come back on the turn of 5 after quickly paying some bills. We'll spend about 5 minutes to wrap up this conversation so that I'll take calls, because I really want you to be on standby while we pick some of the calls today. It's been a long time you responded to some of the calls and the messages. So I'll call you back on the turn of 5 o'clock when I'm done paying the bills. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll come back very quickly. Mr. Mᴜɪᴏ is the chief political editor of Guardian newspaper. He's not done yet. I just had to, keep him on standby. When I pay the bills at the turn of 5, we'll come back. Talk more on the, upcoming gubernatorial election in Ondo State. Today on the show, we've talked about the tax reforms bill. Why is it generating so much political coloration and controversy about it? Why is it, looking at it's a north versus south thing? Well, Mr. Mᴜɪᴏ addressed that issue. I would also start with the just concluded United States presidential election. African countries have struggled with election of late. We've seen consequences and fallout of elections that have led to a lot of issues in countries in Africa. What can we learn, or what have we learned from the just concluded presidential election? We talked about also on the show, but when we come back, we'll continue with the our conversation. But stick with us. You're live on mainland 98.3 FM. This is the Situation Room, and I'll be right back.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
Hey there! Yes, you just won 5,000 naira cash. And you, sitting by the side, there's 1 month Showmax subscription to watch the Premier League waiting for you. You behind. Of course, you're not left out. How does 1,000 naira airtime and 2,000 naira Uber discount sound? All this could come true when you buy the No Unwrap and Win pack. Open it, look for a cube with a 6-digit code on its wrapper, text the code to 8011 and follow the prompts to stand a chance to win any of these instant prizes. Promo valid from July till December. Terms and conditions apply. Get extra value on the No Unwrap and Win pack. No, eat for good.
Oga Police, no worry, I see you. You know you can do the right thing, right? You know you can do without that bribe. You know you don't even have to harass that young man because he is properly dressed. And you think he's a Yahoo boy? You don't even have to assault that citizen whom you have sworn an oath to protect. Yes, we understand that the pay is not good enough to take you home, that you are still wearing a uniform that you bought with your own money 5 years ago. It's no news that the government has not done enough by you. We feel your pain and we wish things could be different as we continue to call on government to wake up to their responsibilities. We want the police to be our friends, just as it is boldly stated across the various police stations nationwide. And from mainland 98.3 FM, we implore you to do better. We love you and we support you always.
There. Yes, you just won 5,000 naira cash. And you, sitting by the side, there's 1 month Showmax subscription to watch the Premier League waiting for you. You behind. Of course, you're not left out. How does 1,000 naira airtime and 2,000 naira Uber discount sound? All this could come true when you buy the No Unwrap and Win pack. Open it, look for a cube with a 6-digit code on its wrapper, text the code to 8011 and follow the prompts to stand a chance to win any of these instant prizes. Promo valid from July till December. Terms and conditions apply. Get extra value on the No Unwrap and Win pack. No, eat for good.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were,
In our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us now, there is nothing, we are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 괶 Akinode as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial mainland 98.3 FM. We'll welcome you, roommates, as we discuss the situations.
Thank you very much for staying with us, and don't forget that by 5:30 the mainland FM news would come up, and by 6 o'clock I would come back to take you through the Thursday edition of Sports Cruise Live from mainland 98.3 FM. Just like the Super Eagles of Nigeria released the team list ahead of the AFCON 2025 qualifiers, the double header between Benin Republic and Rwanda later next week. The Three Lions, that's the English national team, have also released their own squad. We'll talk about all of that on the show today, and there's likely going to be a rain of dollars for all of the teams participating in the Women Cup Champions League. Of course, Nigerians have the Delta Queens as their representatives. We'll talk about all of that by 6 o'clock today, but let's get back into the situation. Mr. Mirademi, good to have you back.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm very well. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's continue with the Ondo State conversation. I mean, you were talking about comparing both leading candidates based on the outcome of the debate that they had on Sunday. We've also had the gubernatorial candidate of YPP join us on the show. We've had the spokesperson of the Alliance for Democracy also join us on the show. God willing, tomorrow we'll have the gubernatorial candidate of the Zenith Labour Party also join us on the show. But then let's talk about where you stopped before we went on that break.
So as I was saying, Agbola looks more matured, seems to understand governance better than the IDP that debate. But the party, PDP, is surrounded by lack support in Ondo State. So it does not have the strength, the agility, and what it needs to win election. It's quite unfortunate. Forget all these Z-Labour Party, YPP, and co. Elections between PDP and the APC. And if I'm taking a bet, at least I won't think twice to say APC win the election. Sorry to say this already. Based on what we can put, I will tell you some of the reasons. If Ondo people will vote based on policies and ability of the candidate to articulate his agenda, Agbola will win. Just as Trump won the election. You know that in debate, Iris could not match Trump.
Sure.
So it's very obvious. Anybody want that sentiment, right? So also, Adedakiwa could not and did not match the eloquence, the capacity to enunciate policies of Agbola, but his structure is very weak. Again, which is quite unfortunate, because they all know this. The campaign they are just doing just formality. Do you know the campaign according to the Electoral Act? The campaign also started since June.
Yes.
You have 150 days to do the campaign. 150 days. We now started the campaign last week. There were some parties that have not launched their campaign. Some launched this week. So they are spending less than 30 days to campaign instead of 150 days. We saw how American presidents were going from one state, going to some state 3-4 times, different regions, institutions, to engage people to campaign. The campaign here now, they just marching around the state. Stay somewhere, distribute free caps, give rice, 1 kg, 1 cup of garri. That's the campaign. Please, what is the soundbite? Or what can you really pinpoint of when you are a political analyst? Doing very well. That okay, this is what Adejiwa you can hold to him that Adejiwa said he was going to do, that you are fascinated with. What as Adejiwa said he was going to do, that you are hearing from his campaign, that you are fascinated with. And they asked him on Ondo State that many of the electorate on the street to tell you that who are you going to vote for. If you mention his name, tell him what did he say that we're going to vote for him. That is why parties now, they are not spending so much money on campaign again, but they are conserving money for vote buying. You know my point? So instead of using one to organize debate, so using money energy on discussion, keep that money for the day of election where it's going to be useful. And it's quite unfortunate. So we have the public engagement is fading. The campaign no more attractive. See the campaign they are doing. They will carry their people from their starting secretariat to everywhere they are going. So if you say people you see today, or you see today, you see tomorrow. So it's not that they are mobilizing new people. Let's say the same sort of people you see in Dori.
And the same sort of people you see about.
They will see in local guy for the same party. And then you see that they're moving in thousands. If also, why would somebody want to campaign in Lagos here? They are bringing people from Ibadan. They are bringing shuttle 150 buses from Ibadan to Lagos. They are shuttling 150 buses from Abeokuta to Lagos.
Why can't mobilize the people from Lagos?
Even Lagos is going to go there. In ordinance, we always happy to go out here where I wouldn't want to speak. We always wanted to go out here where Zik of Africa does stand, will speak. Because we are young then, we go down Biro and pen to go and write some things down. We wanted to hear Ntozolaro speaking. Today we have seen 괰ᴜ Abiola. Is that also? Tell me, I think what you are getting from the campaigns now. So parties don't seriously engage in campaign again, and I stand to be corrected. If they want to campaign for 150 days, they are selling less than 22 days, 20 days to campaign. They campaign. How many students have they been how many town hall meetings have they had?
Have they conducted?
So engage people. For them to speak to them one-on-one. For them to ask questions. Let me make it public. We are following them. So people, they are no longer campaigning, no. But they are conserving money. You know, the last election in Ondo State, apart from those who does not speak
Yoruba.
who don't understand Yoruba.
I'll translate it.
Dìbò kó o ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀dì.
That means vote and make soup. Mr. Muwade,
not soup. It's a popular local soup.
Yes.
Delicious in Ondo.
I was privileged to cover the last governorship election in Ondo State. And when I was leaving the state on Monday, a friend of mine that went to drop me at the park was gisting me. He was showing me a very popular phone market in Accra, and he said, "Can I see the crowd at that phone market?" I was like, "Yes." He said that is a fallout of the election of Saturday. The monies that boys have made, that's what they're coming to use to buy phone. When we drove down to the end where I was supposed to take a bus coming to Lagos, I saw the popular market in Accra. Everybody know the market, and it was like, "Can I see how loaded that market? That if I should come next week Monday, I would not see that same crowd. That those people at that market are just coming in to spend the monies they made over the weekend, and that weekend was an election weekend."
They are going to vote on 16, right?
Yes.
Go to that market again on the 18th. That will be the difference. It's the same thing. And that is the irony of the democracy we are running. And it's quite unfortunate that in American land, I said initially that Americans voted for the policies they think is good for them. And they voted against policies they don't like. Do you know? Trump was making them to understand that the abortion rights that Democrats were sponsored and promoting here and there is against the whites. The blacks in America, they are people creating trust your brothers. I don't know from you guys. Some of them didn't have a Guinea blood in some of them. The brothers and blacks are still creating very well, but the whites, they are the ones engaging in abortion. It's the white Americans that will tell you that they only need a child. Some of them will tell you, "Hey, we got married, we didn't let the baby to stop our love." And Trump was saying that Democrats was promoting all this nonsense. That in the next few years, the black population will dominate over whites. I want to tell you that the election, I think it's about democracy. Then your children and grandchildren will ask questions. My brother, the things resonated very well to the Americans.
They bought it.
So that's it. So all these of abortion rights, you see, they voted against it. They voted against it. It's not that some people, some of them like Trump as a person. No. Trump is not a good man. I saw that producer is credibility. They are not asking the as a person. But Trump is ordinarily, there is not someone that is moral, whatever is perfect. Neither mine. Anyway. But he was speaking to the existential issues of the Americans. That if you continue this gay people promoters, gay rights promoters, if you allow the same-sex promoters, if you allow people promoting abortion every day, if you want to go to 4 years, you will still have citizens. The serious moral body in Americans. And they voted against it. They voted against it. And that's why we tell you that at least Obama affliction will not rise for the second time again. What are Obama affliction? LGBT rights. Abortion rights. That's what we call Obama affliction. Then can we now say that one of the legacies of Obama, even as a black American, are all these moral issues? So I don't know, they want that, and they voted against it. Okay, now, I tell you what you say. What are the policies of Ireland going on that they're going to vote for, or they're going to vote against? Do you have points?
Mr. Dioni, we can continue this conversation for many more minutes, and we're not going to leave the studio today. also covered and followed the election in Ondo State, and I've read, quite some very funny narrative. It's been about, I will increase the minimum wage, I will build the market, I will do this, and I will do that. But let's see how it goes. Let me quickly pick the calls. Mr. Moore, I will keep you on the line so that you get to hear a few of the things that the people would say before we call it a day on the show. 0913-600-0410. I have the chief political editor of Guardian newspaper, Mr. Moore Adeyemi, on the show with me today, and we've looked at the issue of the tax reforms bill and the controversy around it. We've also looked at the fallout of the US election. What have we learned as a continent that are struggling to, put some footings on our own democracy? And we also looked at the, coming gubernatorial election in Ondo State. When you call in, just go straight to the point, and let's do that for 1 minute. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good to have you join us on the show. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, my name is Shola, and I'm calling from Egbeda.
Mr. Shola, straight to the point.
Yes, straight to the point. See, the difference between our client here, Nigeria particularly, and the advanced democracy of America is the followership. You understand? Our own kind of followership, the leaders. I just blame the followership. That's just what I have to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shola. Thank you for joining the conversation. 0913-600.
I think let me start from the US election. If you listen to all the most of the pundits that we listen to on radio, eventually everybody give it to Kamala without considering any factors. Just maybe based on sentiment or so, or something like that. But I just feel, I hope that Trump will do better for America. At least that's what I think. On the issue of National Assembly, Odume came on national television. They asked him a question that this particular bill, if you look at it, he said, I don't need to see it. What is the meaning of that? That means, as a lawmaker said, saying that he has not even received the content. They are rejecting it on the basis of sentiment. With this type of people in the National Assembly, we won't go anywhere. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. He said it doesn't need to see it before he knows what the content is. Very interesting. Hello, good evening, Fama.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yes, I follow your analysis. You say some of the senators and House of Representatives also travel to the United States of America to observe the election. Hello,
I'm with you.
Yes, how I wish that if you can have privilege to just invite one of them to the studio, just to have from your experience. What have you learned over there, and how are you going to implement? No, I understand your answer.
Well, I saw the team lead for Code. Code is an advocacy group that traces funds released for projects across the country, and I'm hoping I'll be able to, get across to Hamzat Lara. I saw him. I think it was in Maryland or thereabouts to observe the election. He's not back in the country yet, but I'll try to reach out to him. Maybe he's going to join us on the show for a couple of minutes. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. My name is Don Peters.
Don Peters, straight to the point.
Thank you. Good evening to your guest. I'm a very big fan of your guest. Anytime he speaks, I listen. But I have a question, please. Ogamuyiwa, please, can we develop as a country having mediocres in the office? Because you just analyzed to me what is happening in Ondo State. One candidate is very competent, very balanced,
but does not have a structure,
very organized, and is very composed to take on the job to better the life of the people. But he may not win. But it's likely that someone who do not have any competence will win. So can we develop as a people, having mediocres in the office,
That is my question.
Thank you very much, Don P. I'm sure Mr. Miwa would respond to that question before we leave the studio. 09136000410. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Phil.
Good to have you join us. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Edward calling from Sunday.
Okay.
And this we have to learn from this US election. If they want to try something in this country, number one, this type of election we are holding here is consuming us money. So what I'm thinking they have to do is to try to do a kind of election that carries the political goals along. That is, if they can make it this single time, or single time that reflects the regional of the political zone, so that there must always be a representative, because this is what is causing controversy in Nigeria. And if you have a national agenda where education, security, other health, power will be addressed, each section of that goes. I mean, when elected, I mean, if it is southeast, if it is south, if it is southwest, when anyone takes any leadership, those national agenda will be addressed one by one. Or if they can say they will not follow this type of election, let it be by after this particular
Thank you very much. Mr. Miwa, we're pressed for time. But let me quickly run through some of the messages we have on Facebook. Nigerian Igala says, in Nigeria, election is no room for most experience. There are all junks who get to office and become blind and deaf to the happenings in the state called Nigeria and the activities. I hope that's why or otherwise will make no difference in Ondo State. Okay, John Bernardo, he says, we need to start the electoral college here because some states just boast of population without meaningful contribution. As for the tax reform bill, the president needs to stand on his ground because you can't reap where you don't sow. Alcoholic beverages is an example. Patrick Obiazo says, how can you practice democracy in Nigeria, in a country where 85% of the population are largely illiterate, impoverished, and prone to hunger and religious manipulation, while the 1% middle class hardly find time to actively participate in the electoral process, leaving the rest 5% that are selfish and exploitative business and political class to gather and determine how the government is governed, deploying the manipulative machine of religion and that skip just move. Okay. Olubenga Michael Adisa says there's no election in Ondo State next week. We're just going for selection. Mr. Mura, let's wrap it up here. It's been an engaging conversation. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
You know what? I think the first speaker, I think the first caller, I think he said we should blame the followers for some of the problems we have. I think it is a beautiful summary of some of the problems we are having in the country. You know, I think people that got there, they didn't go there through shooting or cowing anybody. You understand? But if our level of development is somebody can give you 2,000 naira to be in office for 4 years and you are happy with it, right? Or somebody will only deceive you with 5,000 naira, that you know your conscience not vote for him, right? But because, and you know these people now, they don't give money. It's what we call see and buy. They will have voted for them. They will see that you completed for their party before they give you that money. So, and they coerce you because of 5,000 and to steal for 4 years, and they're happy with that. They are criticizing government today. That's what government is talking about. So we followers should decide what we want. It's better climb if you see a good person, that this guy is a good administrator, a good someone that will give us results. People still saw him. But in Nigeria, the more we begin to allow the rich person to determine who governs, then there's no way I think we can have a say in it. We should own government, we should own governance as individuals.
Thank you.
Have 1 minute remaining.
Mr. Mura, I will really pause for time, and I will certainly have to let you go now. Thank you very much for being my guest on the show today. The news comes up in a few seconds from now, and by 6 o'clock, I'll come back for Sports Cruise live from Milan 98.3 FM. It's been the Situation Room. 4 o'clock, the program returns, same station. And of course, you know, my name is 𝐴광𴑚 Akere. Join me by 6 for Sports Cruise, but stick around for the news by 5:30.
Follow us on all our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. On Twitter at Mainland FM. We are the sound of Lagos.
Yeah, I know what this is.
98.3 Mainland FM.
Hi, this is Sario. Tell me again, no.